We are welcomed by Laura Cortes, co-founder Spoonful Studios. She is doing amazing things with AI, doing some really fun, cool workflows. She came from the agency world, which I know very, very well, and has entered into a new realm, which is very exciting. So not to steal any spotlight, I will hand it over to you. Laura, take it away.
Thanks, Josh. It's always good when you feel like your app is helpful, right? When something you build is helpful for you, I think that's a good start. Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. I'm gonna be super honest. It's been a while since I've done public speaking. I think if you read the description of my talk, you'll know why. There's a series of life events from burnout to becoming a mom. So it's been a while, but hopefully, this is a safe space, as I know, and I'm hoping to take you on my journey from the last 15 years or so, but obviously zooming in into the last couple of years, since I came back from maternity leave and had to jump on this really fast train called AI. Yeah, I've put together a presentation that it's a little different from what I usually do. I usually use Google Docs. Today I decided to go into Figma because it's a journey, and so I wanted to take you on that journey with me, and I wanted to make it more diagrammy, visual tree kind of thing. So yeah, the title of my conversation with you guys, because it is a conversation, there is 30 minutes at the end for Q&A. So I do really want to save time for that part, which for me, it's the most exciting part. It's from Adland to AI animation, and then specifically focusing on a project that I co-started with Mikko Martikainen, which is called History Hacks, and it's an animation made with AI using claymation to tell history to children. Um, so yeah, who am I? I've seen a few names on the Zoom page that I recognize. So I think some of you already know me and know a little bit of my story, but for those who don't, I'm a creative director. I'm based in Lisbon, as I said, and for the last 15 years, I've been focusing on transforming complex and quite inaccessible subjects into interactive and immersive stories. So here's a really, you know, quick snapshot of a couple of projects I worked on in the last few years. One was with Google Cloud, sorry, for the Davos World Economic Forum, where we kind of built this massive installation and ask people to join hands and trigger like these beautiful visuals. And I was literally inside the window building clouds and fabricating the whole thing. And then another project I worked on, which was quite big and it took almost a year to complete, was the Google and CERN Big Bang augmented reality experience. So if you haven't seen that one, it's on the Apple Store, and I invite everyone to go try it. So that gives you a little bit of a glimpse of like the range of work I've done. I don't have one medium per se. I've never had it. I never had like, a focus either in like experiential or web, or I kind of went where I was needed. Always leading with story, and then, how can I tell stories with creative technology, and which one makes sense, and which one doesn't. I did, however, seem to find clients in projects that focused a lot in education, entertainment, what I call edutainment. Well, not me, like the industry calls edutainment, um, and a lot of AR. So a lot of XR and AR and VR when that was a thing. So my journey was, interestingly enough, in that took that path, um, and I didn't expect it. Like I never planned for that. I never was like, okay, I really want to focus in XR. I really want to do entertainment. It just so happened to be the case. I started with Flash games back in, I don't even want to say it. Then I worked in Vancouver. I did some really interesting projects with the National Film Board of Canada. Then I moved to London, worked at Unit 9, and was doing some cool stuff with VR. Then I worked for Warner Brothers Records, the music record label, and I got to do this really cool experience with Muse and using AI. And then the rest is history. So fast forward to today, I think what this slide for me really kind of revealed to me, I didn't even realize it, was that, oh, it does feel like a connected journey where I went from like educational flash games for children at the very start of my career to building this Wild Series augmented reality app, which is also on the Apple Store, which I also invite everyone to go try, that focuses on wildlife and conservancy. So today, I'm not here to talk about any of that. That was all in the past, in the sense that it's what got me here. It's what brought me to this moment and this point of my career. I'm here to talk about, not just as a creative director, but as a mom as well, a founder, and, a builder of something that I never thought I would build. I never imagined myself like, developing a claymation show for children focusing on in history, world history. And it's been a labor of love. It's been quite messy, and it has triggered a lot of interesting responses online because, AI is a hot topic, as we all know. So today I want to walk you guys through what got me here, the projects that got me here, and the journey that got me here, and also like the execution and how we are developing history hacks in our workflow. Uh, Going back to 2020, 2021, I had a really bad burnout. I was working at an agency and, COVID happened and, I just didn't know what I wanted to do anymore. I had to take a sabbatical. And while I was doing that, I was diagnosed with major depression disorder, and I was put on medication. And I'm quite honest, you'll realize that I have no filters. I'm Portuguese, if you haven't recognized the accent. So I'm very out there and outspoken. So I have no problems in sharing my personal experience, and you'll see that throughout the presentation. But the reason why I'm telling you this is because I got to a point where I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I using 8 to 12 hours a day of my brains to create something that I wasn't really, I didn't really believe in it, in what I was doing. So one day I was listening to a podcast on Spotify, and I came across someone called Dr. Michael Keane, which I don't know if he's on the call. I have invited him. And this kind of revolutionized everything I had understood about depression and being put on medication and why, and how does a pill work, and how does it suddenly resolve everything that it's wrong in your life, and how do you go from like feeling like the world is coming to an end to not feeling like that. And I got obsessed with neuroscience. I was just like, oh, I'm gonna go and be a neuroscientist. I'm gonna like, I was looking for like master degrees. I was like telling my partner, husband, that I was gonna go study neuroscience. I got really like obsessed with it. And I also got really obsessed with history and understanding, you know, society and, the construct of humankind and the stories that we tell ourselves and if you want, the lies that we tell ourselves and what we make ourselves believe to kind of get up in the morning and live our days like they tell us to. So it got very philosophical. And in that process, I came up with, here's Dr. Michael Keane. Yeah, he has a, a clinic in Ireland. And I know he's kind of like taken a step away from this, but basically they do something called neurofeedback. I'm not going to go into that. Please do research it. But just to tell you guys that I got really obsessed with it, as I was saying, and I got really obsessed with this idea of exploring invisible realities. So really understanding what the gap between inner experience and outer experience is, outer understanding. And I came up with an idea. This idea is called Painted Brain. It's actually in development right now. I haven't shared anything because it's quite it's not a secretive project, but it's something that we are putting a lot of work into. But I wanted to share with you guys because it'll make sense to why I suddenly shifted to AI animation and why I'm here today. So it is an online AI guided sensory journal, and it's designed to help people with depression take on a journey of self-discovery and self-expression. So right now, what we're doing is we're building these environments that are going to be explorable. Users are going to be able to go in and like look around, and they're going to be like this like 2.5D AI generated paintings of what happens in your brain. So I'm not going to go into a lot of more details, but this was the starting point for me of like, okay, AI is not here to replace me. AI is not here to take my job, and it's not scary, at least not for me. It's really here to empower me and to allow me to do things that I never thought I would be able to do. And, to work with people that I would never be able to work with. And here's just a list of like people that are part of the Painted Brain project. I thought I would bring up their names because, again, I do not do any of what I do by myself. I am not a solo artist. I don't believe in individuality in that sense. I always like to work within a team and surround myself with teams. So these are the guys building Painted Brain right now, and I hope to share something with you guys soon in the future. From there, which as I said, it's an ongoing project. I started exploring AI and filmmaking. Like I've always wanted to be a filmmaker. I think a lot of us who work in agency and in design have that, like little demon in our like shoulders of like, oh, filmmakers are the cool ones. You're like blah, digital, everyone wants to be a filmmaker. So my husband is a filmmaker, and I I love the medium. I love telling stories with film and live action. And so when AI came to my life, I was like, okay, now I can finally start telling the stories that have been trapped in my head for so long. And I can explore and I can experiment. So I had this uh, idea that I've had for like almost 20 years now of building, like writing a trilogy about my 20s, my 30s, and eventually my 40s, and what it means for me to be a woman throughout these 3 decades of my life. I'm not at my 40s yet. I will soon be, but yeah, I was like, I can finally produce that. So this was generated last year, so it's quite old already, as you can see. But I started writing and I started producing it and I started designing it. And this one focuses on my 20s, when I used to live in London, UK. I was single, I was dating people, and it was not going that well. And I think a lot of us probably have been there and can resonate with the whole online dating shenanigans. And I was going to bars and meeting all these people. And every time I was sitting on the table in front of these people, I was thinking about home. I was thinking about Portugal. I was thinking about how much I missed my family. I missed the lemon trees. I missed the sand, the beach. I missed the ocean. So I had this crazy idea of like, what if I create a short movie where these people, these men, are sitting in front of me, which is not me, it's someone that represents my story, and they all start becoming these things that I'm thinking about and missing. So that's kind of my second experiment with AI and how I, started really diving into AI generative tools. I built a whole case study, which I'm happy to share after my presentation on how I built this. But it's quite old and it's quite like out of date, but it just speaks to like the process of filmmaking with AI. So as I said, AI didn't really replace my creativity. It kind of reactivated it, right? After I burnt out, after I was like, I don't know if I want to keep going like this. I want to be a neuroscience scientist. It actually kind of gave me a whole new like motivation and breath of fresh air, breath of air to keep going and to like not give up on being a creative director. So that got me to this point, which is my kid. He is almost going to be 2 now, and he loves Bluey, as you can see. And he's sitting on his desk. And one of the first things we got him was this like massive set of Play-Doh. Um, Hopefully you'll see where I'm getting with this. And he loves Play-Doh. He loves like he's obsessed with it. It's crazy. We have Play-Doh spread all over the house. It's quite annoying. I'm constantly picking up bits here in my desk. And one day I was sitting with him, and I we go to the library quite a lot, and I started thinking like I'm from Portugal, so I don't know if anyone's from Europe, but we study history like of 1,000 years ago, right? Like the first kings and the first queens and the battles and you know my thoughts were like, my son is going to have to sit through these like same colonial narratives that I had, that my parents had, that my grandparents had. And this can't be possible. Like I was just like so annoyed at the whole thing. And I was just like, there's got to be something out there that it's telling history from different points of view. And I know there are like books and, but I hadn't come across any content that did that. It's always like, the Blueies, the Sesame Streets, I don't know, Snoopy's, Winnie the Pooh, whatever. Like, and there's nothing really like talking about history and doing that. So I was like, I don't want him to experience the world through these images. Like, I want him to actually be excited about things that, happened 500 years ago. And I'll be like, "Ugh, honestly, like, I can't even think about like memorizing kings' names." So that's when like it clicked in my brain. I was like, okay, these are all the things that I'm passionate about or interested in. Science, as you saw with the like Big Bang, history, politics, society, it's a lot. But these two kind of like passions of mine kind of came together, and that's when History Hacks was born. And I'm fortunate enough that along the way, I make really, really, really good connections with people that I work with and people that I come across in different studios and agencies, because I'm a freelancer and I have been for 3 years now. And Mikko Martikainen, I don't know if he's on the call. It's quite late. He's in Finland. Approached me and he was like, let's start something together. He is a visual VFX technical artist, and his background is Epic Games and The Mill. And so the two of us kind of like got together and started coming up with ideas for what we wanted to do together, like a studio, and what is it that drives us? And what drives us is to tell stories and to use tech to tell stories. So History Hacks was born, and the first thing that we said was like, okay, we want to reimagine from the margins. Like we want to tell stories of the world and history from a women's point of view, from BIPOC inventors' point of view, forgotten heroes' point of view. But we got to start somewhere, right? So we started with the Ice Age, and then we went into the hunters and gatherers part of history. And we kind of built the first, what I like to call proof of concept, and then kind of like an MVP. So I don't know if you've seen the episodes. Raise hands, anyone, everyone. I can see everyone. Obviously, Josh has. So maybe I can play one. They're 3 minutes long. They're not that long. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay.
Go for it.
Otherwise, I think it makes absolute no sense for me to be talking about this if you guys haven't seen it. I do need to shift gears for a second. So as I was saying, while I bring this up, sorry, I had it up and then it was gone. We decided to, like, the first episode really focus on just the story, and think about, what is the format of the show? What are the characters? What are their names? How do they look like? We didn't care about character consistency. Whoops, sorry. We didn't care about character consistency. We wanted to just create something cool. So we basically, can you see my YouTube?
Just seeing a pink screen right now.
Oh, it should. What about now? Yeah, okay. I'll shut up now. I'll let you watch it.
I don't think we're getting sound though.
There's no sound? Sorry. What was that?
Oh yeah, all good. Yeah, it wasn't. I wasn't hearing sound.
Okay.
Um, it
Well,
might be a Zoom
if you
thing.
if you prefer to go on YouTube, History Hacks, Spoonful Studios, it's there. You'll find it. I'll play it and
I think it holds up without a little bit of sound. We can kind of imagine.
yeah. So there is one thing though I say about sound. Like, I'm very proud of the song that Suno came up with just one prompt. I was just like, how is that even a thing? Like, how are they producing this kind of music with almost no direction at all? But yeah, so as I was saying, like, the first episode was focused on the proof of concept. It's not intended to be a final product. It's in no way saying like this is an, television airtime, prime time content. And we know that there are a lot of things that, are a little murky, like some of the characters resemble potentially some of the Arden Studios characters. There is a lot of character inconsistency because we were using different tools and it was all prompting. There was no, like, we didn't train any LoRa's, we didn't do any of our one on workflows. We really just prompted. And the goal here is really like, can we create a 3 minute episode that it's cool, that it looks colorful and fun and energetic, and kids are gonna want to watch it. And it has like these three characters. It's Mia, Ada, and May, and they are like your host of the show, and like it's okay if they're a little wonky. It's okay if they don't look perfect because it's Play-Doh and it's supposed to look like it was created by children for children. So we really focus just on the story, like
Mr. Wonderful
the
here. My friend Howard Marks is the co-founder.
the the message of the episode, and how we going back to Figma now. Can you see my Figma?
Still seeing YouTube.
Uh, Maybe this is why people do presentations on Google Docs. Okay, so yeah, we wanted to like just get the feeling of the show. There's no worries about any like perfection or anything. And I think one of the really controversial topics for me right now online and on LinkedIn is that it feels like when you post something with AI, people just expect it to be like the final product and perfect, and everyone just immediately jumps in. It's like, but that doesn't look great, and that looks like shit. And I was like, what happened to like being able to share work in progress, right? Like what happened to like being a community that supports each other and just goes like, that's really cool. That's a really good starting point. Like, I love what you did here and I love what you did there. Maybe I can connect you with this person that is doing this, and maybe I can, you know, like offer my like learnings because I've used this tool before. So that's how I use LinkedIn. So I'm always very surprised when people come with a little bit of hate. But yeah, anyway, the in other ways, like people have actually been very, very receptive. So we've been using AI to like accelerate to do script generation, to allow us to do visual development, to do voice iteration. So you know, at the time I was using Claude. Right now I've shifted gears to ChatGPT, but you know, we're using like Claude to like, you know, really drive the character's description and then help us like really define it and refine it. And then we use Hume at the time. Today I would probably use 11 Labs to create the characters' voices. We had to work around things like, you know, you can't create voices for 16 less than 16 years old. So like children's voices, you can't do that. So I had to be very creative with like make it sound like super happy and cheerful, like so it actually sounds like a kid. We used the, you know, LLMs to really like figure out the aesthetic of the characters. And then we went to different like Midjourney, can't remember what else we used at the time. It was already a while ago, but to get the characters designs. And the first things that started coming out looked like this. And I was like, no, that I've seen this before. Like, this is not what I want to do. Like, I don't want to use someone else's work and create a show based on that. I wanted to really like I want to look like Play-Doh and like it was made by kids. However, as you've seen it, some of the shots didn't work that well because it is trained on existing claymation shows. So there are some things that will look like other shows out there. But you know, the reason why we chose claymation was also because this isn't the end point. As I said, this is the starting point, and the goal, and if there's any investors out there, anyone connected to the film industry or distribution industry, is to produce this in real life. So we want to actually model the characters, and we want to work with claymation artists and art directors to design the characters and bring those characters to life, and then train models to produce the AI animation. But for now, because I'm not a claymation artist and my kid is only 2, so he can't really do it yet either, we're sticking to AI stuff. So what we did was we created the characters with like images. Then I asked VO2 to create turntables of the characters. Then we brought those turntables into our own models. And this was already for episode 2. So episode 1 was focusing on the storytelling aspect. Episode 2 is focusing more on the execution of it. So that's why I call it the MVP of our show, because it's testing our own workflows. And you can see here, like Mikko was sharing this with me on WhatsApp, and going like, is this too polished? Is this the look that we're going for? And I'm like, no, we wanted really like, we want to see like the fingerprints, and we want to see like the chunks of like claymation, like that's. So there was a lot of work in the background that people don't even realize. But yeah, like the first results were not what we wanted it to be. So we took it to Comfy and started building our own workflows. And then once we started getting happy with like the result of the characters and the details, you know, like Mikko got pretty consistent characters. So he brought that into different environments. And the way he did that was he 3D modeled using a 3D modeling workflow that he built the characters out of our turntables from VO. Then he brought that into Unreal and positioned the characters to take the first frame of every shot. So he basically blocked the characters in an empty 3D spatial environment. And then he took that frame and gave it to me to create the prompt that then he brought back into Comfy to generate the environments. So it's a lot of like back and forth. And then the other thing he did was, well, obviously because he's at an animation and the characters move, he took this like a map of a character's body parts, and then he turned that into a little 3D model, and then using an AI rigger, he was able to rig that and then use that rig into our characters and then use Unreal to do a basic animated character rig that then he could control and pose. So here's the actual workflow. And I think he also used an AI rigger. So he didn't rig the character himself. He actually used something out there, I think was Meshy, to rig the characters. Yeah, so after that, we used an existing Play-Doh style model to train our own Loras. And I think here is when you start seeing, okay, this kind of looks like art and stuff. But we were fine. We were like, this is just Yambifi. It's all good. We're not saying this is going to go on TV or Netflix or anything like that yet. We're just showing what we can do. And we built a whole case study on LinkedIn after for that I invite everyone to go read. Yeah, so we started posing the characters. We started building all the different environments. There's a lot of like things that we can do with our own workflow in Comfy. So he would give me the settings or the design, the composition, and ask me to animate it with VO. So there wasn't like one size fits all for all the shots. Some shots had to do with VO, some shots we had to do with Comfy. But, in the end, I think I love this shot. I think for me, it's like, this is exactly how I want it to look like. Like if I were to like take this to a production company, like give me money to produce this, this is what it is. It's imperfect. It has marks. It has like dry bits of clay dough falling apart, and it's just cute. And hopefully my son will want to watch it. Yeah, so in terms of AI weaknesses, just conscious of time. As I said, there are things that are obviously recognizable. We don't want that to exist in the final product. I wanted one of the characters to be Mexican, and I could not get it without a beard. I was just like, what are you training on? Like you can't like, it's like, okay, every time I had like either South American, Latino, Mexican, it's like it gave it a mustache or a beard. I was like, it's a kid. Why does a kid have a beard? So I was just like, okay, this is weird. So that's history hacks. And from there, me going like, we're like, okay, we have to turn this into something, and we have to turn it into a studio or something, and we have to like not just build our own IP, but also help other people build their own IPs. So we're called Spoonful Studios. We were founded with intention, and we are a studio for story-led, format fluid, that's a lot of dashes, AI-powered storytelling. We were born from the need to go from solo, as I said, to collaborative creation. We were both freelancers working individually, and we were like, let's collaborate. And we don't just want to build history hacks, we actually are developing tools. I was just telling Josh before we jumped on the call, we're developing a tool to help creators expand their IPs and think outside of traditional formats and traditional platforms and traditional media and grow their stories into different content and touch points. More on that in the future. So for us, what's next is we want to be more empathy-driven content. We want to see more empathy-driven content. We want AI as a collaborator, not an overlord. I think a lot of people are saying this online. This is not unique to us. And we want accessible production models. Sorry, it's getting quite late for me and I'm sleep deprived. Yeah, so I'll just end on something we are working on that is our next project. Can you hear the sound? Yeah.
There's no sound. Laura, this one doesn't have sound.
No sound?
No sound. I'm sorry. We
If
should have
you-
done, oh, our tech check failed.
If you
But
reshare,
you see the animation,
if you share and
so
check the box to show sound, it'll do it, but you have to reshare your screen.
yeah. So this is gonna be a retro game inspired by motherhood. It's in development. This is just the idea right now that I generated with AI tools. But yeah, like hopefully next year we get to launch this. And that's us. That's Spoonful. That's me. And thank you so much. And now I'd like to hear from everyone.
All right. Love it. Laura, thank you so much. I'm a huge fan of what you're doing. So I would say, all right, everyone, Joyce, can you copy that into the messages? We'll stop the share, and then like if anyone wants to go camera on and ask any questions or shoot your question in the chat, we can open up for conversation. All right, anyone want to jump in?
I,
Or should I? Oh,
I'll,
yeah,
I'll
go
jump
for
in.
it.
I have 1,000 questions, so I'll just pick the one. I mean,
1,000.
I have 1,000 questions about the creative and also the pipeline, but I have to ask about this part, which is the business model. I'm just curious, like, are you able to monetize this history hacks? And how do you think about that, and how do you afford to do all of this right now? Because I'd imagine you're putting a lot of work onto this into this.
Yeah. No monetization yet. We do have monetization plans, which are EP, who is donating her time while she is also on maternity leave, is putting together. But basically, the goal is to, create a handful of episodes and then go to either Netflix or who knows, Amazon Prime, to help us produce it. So right now we do it on our spare time, which isn't a lot because we're both parents. All of us are parents in the team, and we are freelancers, so it's in between projects. So right now we had to put a pause on it, and we don't have, like, we wanted to launch one episode a month, but unfortunately we couldn't. In terms of business model, our current business model is that we want to develop our own IP, as I said. So History Hacks is one of them. This other like retro game you saw, something for the future. But we're also developing a tool called Story Map, the one that I mentioned that helps creators expand on their IPs. And we're applying for every possible single European and international grants with our ideas and our pipelines and our workflows. And we also are collaborating with creators and animation studios. So we have a partnership with an animation studio in Ireland, and they have a traditional animation pipeline with traditional animation methods. And then they're bringing in Spoonful to help them like reimagine the way they do things and use Unreal and AI tools to like really expand on what their capabilities are. Yeah.
I love it. All right. No one else has a question quite yet. I'm gonna throw one in. So you talked a little bit about trying to get one done a month. Like how long would it take you from start to finish to produce like an episode, like a 3-minute episode?
That's really hard to quantify because I think, how do I say this? It's quite fragmented process right now. So because we're
Yeah.
not doing this like from 9 to 5 p.m. every day, but I'd say that, to get the concept, to get the characters, to get the voices, the music, which hopefully you'll get to listen to if you go watch it on YouTube. It took about, I think if I were to mash up all the hours together, maybe like a month,
Okay.
maybe less, 3 weeks. And then I didn't want to just like design one episode and that was it. Like I was telling you, Josh, before this, that I have 120 episodes planned. I haven't
Mhm.
scripted 120 episodes, but I know more or less like the progression of the show. Um, and then to build the second one, if we were to like put it all like now to build the third one, if we were to use the same workflow, probably like 2 weeks, I'd
Two
say.
weeks.
A week to two
Once all the
weeks.
assets are together, like you can kind of
Yeah.
like okay.
Yeah, because now we have the characters rigged, we have the 3D models, we have the Unreal environment. It's just like building the animation.
Yeah.
I see UC has his kid. Um, yeah, and but like the next episode, we actually want to test even more things. Like I want to bring in real actors. I want to have real performances. I want the faces to move. I want them to have emotion. And so that's going to be a whole like new set of testing and trying. So we'll take God knows how long to get right. So until we test everything, until we actually have a really robust pipeline and workflow that we're really comfortable with, and we're like, this is like the optimal execution with the tools that we have at hand. It's hard to tell like how long things actually get to be done, get to do. Yeah,
Super interesting. Sam,
that's
you
why
have a
it's
question?
such a yeah.
Hi. Oh, you could go first, Jesse, if you want to. Okay.
Sam, then
Go
you
ahead.
see.
I want to start. Okay, thank you. I want to start with a comment actually. So I love the juxtaposition of something that is innately like handmade with AI, which is completely digital. Like that is something I really like love and appreciate. And I personally have been building a game for ocean literacy, and that's why I joined because I was like, okay, this seems like it's kind of right up my alley. So like, thank you for sharing the process. That was super helpful for me as a designer. And one thing I wanted to
Okay.
ask is, do you think education is going to pivot this way completely? Like, what is your view? Like, have you thought of like that? Like, would you think that is a use case? Do you think, you know,
Pivot this way in terms of content and like the way
in terms
stories are
of the
told?
mode itself,
Yeah.
like, yeah, the
Well,
way
I hope
stories are
so.
told, but also the a mode of education. Like maybe this is just how maybe it's going to be generated content and maybe not books like at all. Like even though
Yes.
that's kind of shifting, what do you feel like? Do you feel like that's a use case that this could?
I I hope that it's a hybrid. I don't want to get rid of artists or actors or talent in no way, shape, or form. Like I would love for Sesame Street to be alive when my kid is 30 and has his own kids, right? So I think there's a world for both. Now I do think that with content like this, the one that we're building, which is a 3-minute video, and it's all about like quantity, right? It's all about like because the world has so much history, right? If you were to tell the history of every single country and every single culture from the point of view of women that you've never heard of, like we could create episodes daily for years. So I think when it's formats like this and stories like this, it makes sense to use tools like AI because it's about generating quickly and in terms of quantity. So I do hope so. I hope there is a place for both in the future. And I hope that, schools and governments and public systems start welcoming things like this because it's got to start somewhere. So yeah.
Okay, thank you for sharing.
I want to throw my own 2 cents real quickly on that. I would like kind of, it's funny because I think when people think about content, they think about like, places where it's like very like limited, like, like TV or even like streamers and stuff like that. But if you like look at YouTube and you look, or like TikTok, and you look at like the massive amounts of content that are produced there, and also sort of like the verticals of audiences that are there, and like people have actually who have creators who've been able to like have like pretty amazing careers just like catering to like 1,000 true fans. I mean, I think you could definitely see a future there for sure. And just like, and even the YouTube now, where it's like except for like a very small swath of creators, like the quality of content's pretty low.
Yeah.
So it's like I think you're gonna see maybe this AI is just gonna like up level, the quality of content in those places would be my sort of guess. Anywho.
Yeah. The more, I guess, the more noise there is, and this is going to sound very philosophical, but the more noise there is, the easier it is to recognize music. That makes any sense?
Yeah.
If that makes sense, right? So like if you're in a room full of noise, then if you hear music, you're like, oh, that's music. That's not noise. So that's how I see it. I think the more and more and more and more and more and more you see it, and then when you see something that is truly special, then you're like, okay, this is fantastic work, and it's never just going to be AI generated. I don't think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there has to be a human obsessing over the cracks in the clay. Um,
Yeah. Yeah,
you see,
exactly.
Yeah, so actually, yes, I think the plenty of my question was already covered. But I mean, yeah, so thank you so much for kind of showing under the hood of the process, because that's, I feel like so much of the, when you work and kind of grapple with AI tools, that it's so easy that it becomes this kind of a chewing gum average. And you showed really nice way of how to kind of, how to keep your agency smack in the middle. And then also I love the fact that you kind of still use this also as a production, as a prototype that could be traditional as the outcome at the end. So also kind of the role of the tools. But so maybe the kind of a very simplified question in that, why clay animation? Maybe I missed it in the talk. I had some background action here. So is it like have you done that before? You've inspired by the aesthetic through the collaboration with the other Finn. It like,
Yeah.
because that's
The
kind
reason
of, that sort of crystallizes the artistic kind of crafts agency, but it's
Yeah.
also just one parameter. It could be anything else.
No, absolutely. The reason is why it's the same as the why you were distracted. It's the kid in your room. My kid was the reason. So I said at the beginning, like the first toys we got him was like a set of Play-Doh. So there's Play-Doh everywhere in my house. There's Play-Doh on my desk, there's Play-Doh on the floor, um, and we build figures all the time. So I was like, I want to build something like this. I want to build something that my kid will enjoy watching. So that was the reason. Yeah. Thanks.
No, I'm looking at the chat. So, I have a question. So you've been working with some more like traditional studios, kind of helping them with their, move over to AI. Like, how long do you think it would take them to produce something like this? Or like, like, what's the benchmark now for like producing this sort of content within a normal pipeline? Or have you gotten a sense
If
of it?
if anyone has the answer to that question, they are, million dollar, billion dollar answer. I don't know. I have no idea, to be very honest. My role right now is, so I didn't talk about that on this talk because it wasn't about that, but I do have a career in user experience and interactive and experiences using emerging tech. So my freelance work is helping startups and studios and agencies right now like rethink their pipelines and build software and products that are integrating AI into creative processes. And that's a very mouthful. But from that point of view, so what I'm saying right now from a completely different side of AI production integration into production is that there are a lot of companies out there thinking about how to revolutionize content creation. So not comfy UI, not prompting, but designing tools that help creators achieve great things with AI. And that can be anything from like design to video to VFX to CGI to so because I see that happening and I'm working with startups and studios and thinking about that as a consultant and a user experience designer, I think it's coming. It's coming, right? Because there's the side of content creation and there's the side of software creation. So if there's a lot of people investing in software and building software that is going to disrupt the industry, it's going to disrupt Adobe, it's going to disrupt Unreal, it's going to disrupt Maya, Blender, then I think it's only a matter of time that content will be generated with AI, or somehow parts of it will be generated with AI. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, and I think it's like honestly, if there wasn't this sort of like overlaying fear narrative, like these are amazing tools. I mean, I think there's just like it's amazing how quickly these new cool creative tools are coming out. So like maybe kind of like one last question before we wrap it here. Like, what is the stuff? Let me do two parts because I'll let you do the sign off on this. Like one, like what has you most excited? Like, where are you looking for inspiration? Like, what are the things that you're seeing that are like super cool? And then also like, how can this community kind of help you, support you? Like I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, sure. I don't read a lot, but I do try to read books here and there. So, I mean, I have books in front of me right now that I want to read, and I know you had Frank on your talk.
Yes. I've
These are
read.
right in front of me, and they look at me every day. I do get a lot of inspiration from anything that has to do with politics and society in general. I watch a lot of The Diary of CEO because I just love the conversations that Steve has on his channel. So a lot of like mental health, a lot of child development, anything that has to do with relationships and psychology, I'm obsessed with. So that's where I get my inspiration from. And then in terms of like next steps in the future, I think this community, I love that we have access to each other. And as I said at the start of my conversation with you guys, like I hate working in silos, and I always try to surround myself with people. And for Painted Brain, for example, we are looking for front-end developers, we are looking for AI artists that can help us like design the experience. We are going to be applying for funding very soon once we have our proof of concept there. And for History Hacks, we are looking for actors. So if anyone wants to come and be part of the third episode, obviously you're looking for consultants. Josh, you were saying like anyone who wants to collaborate who has like a history background or anything, sociology, philosophy, whatever, art, history, please do reach out. And yeah, and just like if you have ideas, like Spoonful welcomes any artist, any creators right now that has ideas and wants to produce stuff with AI. So we're always looking for collaborations.
All right, amazing, Laura. Thanks so much. This was fantastic. Thank you for staying up late with us over there in Portugal.
Of course.
And again, like if there's any ways that we can sort of facilitate or connect, or anybody who's in this community wants to connect with Laura in some ways,
Yes.
feel free to reach out to her directly or reach out to me. I'm happy to help. Laura, thank you so much. Thank you everybody for being
Thank you,
here.
guys.
Hope to see some of you tonight in Santa Monica, and I hope to see you guys on a future spaces. Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.
Bye.
See ya.